Hey, it's Peter, aka Deuce. You can find me on Instagram at Deuce Bradshaw or at Tampa Photographer. I'm back once again, my friend Jason Allen. You can find him on Instagram at JasonAllen127. Our model today is Deuce, and you can find him on Instagram at DeuceRRingo. And today we're doing the Instax Challenge.
Alright, so Peter generously gave me one shot to kind of get comfortable with the Instax Mini 8 again. Last time I shot one of these was actually at his wedding about 2 years ago. So it's not a camera I'm that familiar with. But took a little look at the tech specs on it, and here's what I know. So I'm a really technical guy with pictures. I really like knowing the balance of light sensitivity, how much available light I need, and what the lens and camera system I'm using can capture. So did a little homework on this camera while Peter was shooting, and what I found out, it has an f12.7 lens. It's not letting a lot of light in. That means we're gonna have to hit poor Drew here with the sledgehammer of light. We're gonna have to really hit him with a lot of light to get the look I'm looking for. I'm going for kind of Godfather lighting, using a gridded strip box just above him, straight on axis with the camera right above. Now, the other thing I learned is the film is ISO 800, and this camera has a fixed shutter speed of a 60th of a second. So right now I'm taking a page out of Deuce's playbook. Now, he bent the rules in a couple of our other challenges, particularly in the one reflector no strobes challenge, where he unzipped his reflector and did some really nice clamshell lighting work with it. But that was a little outside the rules. So he didn't say anything about not bringing a light meter to the party. So I'm going to be using my Sekonic L358, which has been an invaluable tool for me on location and in the studio for the past couple of years, to kind of get a read on what my light's giving me before I load this up with some film and get 10 really solid shots in the can. Okay, so now what I'm doing to actually trigger the light, we're using the flash slave mode on the B1 Air, and I'm using my Profoto strip box with it. And I'm using this Yongnuo flash that Deuce has left in the studio in order to trigger the big light. So I'm going to take a couple test reads, make a few adjustments, and dial in my settings. We're gonna just start knocking out shots one after the other. All right. So when light metering, it's always a good idea to take your incident meter reading from right next to the subject's face and aiming your light meter towards the light. What you're going to get back with this meter is the aperture for the amount of flash power hitting this receiver right here. Now we're using pretty directional light, so I'm going to close down the sensor a little bit, and we're pretty close to where we want to be. So I'm going to clear that out, and we're getting f14, meaning we're going to have to choke out the amount of light that we need in order to get the shot coming out beautifully without being overexposed. Okay, so it's coming in a little hot. So I'm going to bring this down, call it a half stop lower on the flash. Do another incident read here. And we're hitting f11 right now, which for what we're trying to do with Polaroid film is going to be a little bit underexposed, but it's going to kind of get me the mood that I'm looking for with this shot. All right, so I'm going to lock and load a fresh pack of some Fuji Instax film here. Power it up, and I'm even going to keep Deuce's little diffuser wax paper there. I'm going to get in close here because I want to fill the frame with Drew from his elbows to the top of his head, and nothing but white backdrop behind him. I don't want to see anything else. I don't want to see the rest of the studio. So here we go. I'm going to talk him through a couple of posings. We're going to get a couple shots in the bag, and we're going to have some fun with some props. We have some stacks of $100 bills, which is something most photographers will never see. But fortunately for us, they were cheap and made in China. So, so we got those. So you're going to square your shoulders towards me, and I'm going to try and bring this down a little bit more, get a little under chin fill lighting there on you. And for the cigar, if you could bring this elbow out a little bit more, so the cigar is more center line there, great. Great, just like that. And make sure this is on the correct setting. I'll take a look through here, see what we're seeing from the camera. Frame a little tight. One thing I noticed on my test frame is that what you see in the viewfinder isn't exactly what you'd get because it's an offset viewfinder. You're not actually looking through the lens. So I'm going to make sure this first shot reads well and the lighting's where I want it, or I'm going to adjust accordingly. All right, so one thing you'll notice in this first frame is that the pop-up flash on the camera is still reading in the shot. Now we're using that flash to trigger the big light, but unfortunately it is casting a hard shadow to camera left there behind the subject's ear. All right. The other thing that I noticed in this first test shot is that the frame is much wider than what I see through the viewfinder. So I'm going to get even closer and frame tighter, which is something I usually don't do. I usually leave a lot of garbage area around the edges, and I'm going to try and make this camera get me the shot that I have in mind. All right, so what I'm doing now, I've doubled up the wax paper diffusion on the onboard flash, and I'm covering it with both of my fingers from my left hand. What I'm hoping that's going to do is it's going to mute the light that's hitting our subject, send enough light out into the space to trigger the flash trigger on the big light above. Hopefully that'll do it. We'll see if frame 2 is more successful than frame 1. And if not, we'll adjust. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
So Drew, I'm going to do the same thing as we did on the last take. You're looking sharp. Shoulders back just a little bit and chin up towards the light. Give me a little bit of a head tilt this way. Great, right there. And eyes on me right here. Just where my middle fingertip is there. Good. 1, 2, 3. Burn it. So we have shot 2 in the can. Hopefully the 2-finger trick, covering and deflecting the flash, in fact, did trigger the big light and muted the on-camera fill flash. So it's just coming out now. I'm getting the composition that I want now, that little bit extra closeness. Got rid of the spill on either side where we went off the seamless backdrop, and we're still getting a little bit of a hard shadow behind him. So I'm going to see what else we can do with that. All right, so this troublesome fill flash here is causing issues for me because I'm working very close to the subject. So I cannibalized the box from our MacGyver dollar store challenge where we were making light modifiers out of household items. So I pulled some of the foil out of it and just sort of ripped it apart to do it. What I'm hoping to do, there's a great little add-on for DSLRs called the Light Scoop, which is a great way to use your pop-up flash to redirect flash to the ceiling, so you get some nice ambient dropped light in the scene. This, I'm hoping, will just send enough of this pop-up flash up and away to the Profoto light that we get it to trigger without f***ing up my exposures. Hopefully this will solve our pop-up flash problem casting hard shadows. Time for another frame. So we're going to do the same thing one more time here. And bear with me one moment while I fidget with our foil fix. And if you could bring the cigar up just a smidge higher, Drew, awesome, right there. So give me a little bit of a smirk, kind of eating grin, like you're large and in charge. And 3, 2, 1, a little bit more of a smirk. Like someone just told you a dad joke, just like sort of you're over it, but you're smiling at them anyway. 3, 2, 1. All right. I think the big flash fired. And hopefully we have no more problem with pop-up flash. All right, so foil for the win. That redirected light kept Drew's ear from casting a hard shadow with the pop-up flash because the pop-up flash didn't even hit him. It was all redirected up and away to the big light, and we're gonna rock out the rest of these shots now. So, really makes you appreciate the viewfinder on DSLR, these little tiny windows on a point and shoot. So we're gonna get in super close again. I'm gonna need you to bring the cigar a little higher. Awesome, right there. And bear with me with the foil fix. Okay. So, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. For this one, I want you to hold a brick of bills with your other hand Just kind of casually rest it on the crook of your elbow there. But hold it sort of like a beer can, so we see the hundreds and we see the currency up and into frame like that. And I'm going to rotate it just a little bit like that so we don't get as much glare on it, but that's going to look really nice. So let me put this shot over here, and I can already see that one coming in nicely. So we're going to get those dollar bills in there. Bring your fingers together. You don't want them too spread out. It'll cover more of the money. And looking sharp. Okay, ready in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Nice. Big eyes, big smile, laugh lines. Laugh a little bit. Think of the punchline of the last good dirty joke you heard. And, you know, just imagine telling it to a nun. There we go. So, all right, just imagine telling a really good dirty joke to a nun. And just give me that natural laugh. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and giggle. Awesome. All right. Nice. All right, for this one, I actually don't mind you being a little bit off the backdrop. So I'm going to get a little bit lower, come a little bit further back. A lot of editorial portrait photographers will do pullback shots where you see some set elements like the light stands holding up the seamless backdrop paper, you know, maybe the occasional strobe in the frame. So we're going to pull back just enough to see a little bit off camera left and right, offset left and right. Perfect, with the chin line towards the light like that. And a little less head tilt, kind of straighten up there. Love what you're doing with the hands. That's awesome. Just bring the shoulders back a smidge more, sit up a little straighter. Beautiful. All right, so eyes right here below the lens. We want you kind of looking down the camera, right? So in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. First billion's the hardest, right? So for this one, again, kind of shoulders back, chin up a little bit, and eyes below the lens, looking right here where the tip of my finger is. You're looking down, like you own the company. You know, who are these peons here, right? So we want that power to come through. 3, 2, 1. See how that comes out. And I think we have one more frame in the can after that. So we're going to do one more, and I'm actually going to try one thing a little differently. I'm going to do a full set pullback shot. And let's bring these bills in here. If you could bring your feet down, floor level. Yep. And let's see. Put your foot on top of the hundreds here. But if you can kind of bring it outwards a little bit more, just your foot, just bring it so your toes are pointing that way. Is that possible? Great. Awesome.
I got pink socks though.
That's kind of awesome, actually. Digging the pink socks.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to introduce a little subtle detail on this one with the $100 bills under his foot like they're nothing. I'm going to come in a little bit closer. I'm going to get pretty much floor level here. And chin straight towards me. Right there, but up just a little bit more. Good, right there. And we're rolling in 3, 2, 1. I think that's the end of this roll.
Did you just waste the shot?
I did.
Why?
You rolling?
I'm rolling now.
Okay. So Deuce is publicly shaming me right now because I was walking around with the camera still on, and I just burned a shot, taking a beautiful photo of the floor.
You would not survive the 1970s.
I think I would have done all right, actually.
Cost yourself a loaf of bread.
A loaf of bread. Polaroid was a lot cheaper back then, actually.